Well, if it isn't your pal, Exotic Mega Absol Blaze, and what do you know? Yeah, today's the end. Yeah, today's almost the end of September. Yeah, today's the end of September, and you know what that means. Yep, tomorrow is the first day of October. Yeah, tomorrow is October, and you know what that means. That's where Halloween comes. Yeah, it's the return of Halloween. Yeah, and also, what you know what that means. If you guys already know what's coming, if you guys have been my subscribers for a few years, then you will know that that this October I'm gonna be reading some new Halloween stories from this Halloween stories section. But for now, I'm gonna be but for now, I'll be reading this normal scary story, which t- caught my attention as I was looking through the ghost stories section. And as you can see here, enter this, which is nothing but the story Cruise Ship. And to be honest, by looking at the ship by the thumbnail, the picture, it's basically just looks like the back of the Titanic. That just looks like the a shadow picture of the Titanic from the back. Based based upon this picture, this the back of a ship. Yeah, but yeah, today's stories. Yeah, for now, this story is gonna be cruise ship, as you can already tell by the description, is about a man who books a holiday at sea, but soon begins to suspect that his cabin is haunted. It is based on an old ghost story called The Upper Berth. The Upper Berth by F. Marion Crawford. Well, looking forward to see what this story has in store for us. I mean, because I'm really eager to read the story just because of the picture right here and what it's all about. Uh, Yeah, just sit back, relax, and watch me cook as I read the story Cruise Ship. And also forgot to say that I'll be copy and pasting the link of the website Scare for Kids in the description below so that you guys can check it out when you guys wanted to. But here we go. With all that to the side, let's get on with this. Watch me cook. Sit back, relax as I read the story. Cruise ship. What you know? Yeah, this is cruise ship. Enjoy. A few years ago, I I booked a holiday on a cruise ship. I was staying in cabin 105. Each cabin had a bunk bed, so I had to share the cabin with another person. I never met my hold up. Hold up guys, I just had to fix myself a bit. Alright, alright, I'm good now. Anyways, onward. I never met my roommate, but I saw his suitcase sitting next to the wardrobe. The cabin was quite small, but the bed was comfortable. The only thing I could complain about was the dreadful stench of damp that hung in the air. That night, when we went sail, I was tired, so I went to bed early and chose the bottom bunk. In the middle of the night, I was suddenly awakened by a loud noise. I heard a groan coming from the bunk above me, so I assumed that my roommate was so I assumed that my roommate just must have come into the cabin while I was asleep. I couldn't see anything in the darkness. I heard him unlocking the door, and then I heard his footsteps running down the corridor. The corridor. He left the door open behind him, and it swung on its hinges as the ship rolled on its waves. I got up to shut it, then groped my way back to my bed in the darkness and went to sleep again. When I woke up in the morning, the sea was very rough and the cruise ship was rolling back and forth on the waves. The damp smell was still in the room, and it was extremely cold. The porthole the porthole was hanging open, and I had to get up to shut it. The curtains of the top bunk were closed, so I assumed my roommate was still asleep. I got dressed and went on deck. When I found one of the stewards, I complained about how cold and damp my cabin was. Which cabin are you staying in? He asked. Cabin 10. Hold up. Cabin 105, I replied. As soon as I said this, the steward's face turned pale. He visibly shuddered and stared at me. What's what's the matter? What's the matter? I asked. Oh, nothing, he replied. It's just that everyone who stays in that cabin has complained about it. There's something not right about it. Well, I'm not supposed to talk about it. They don't want us to frighten the passengers. What are you talking about? I asked in surprise. The steward looked over his shoulder and lowered his voice. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my job, he whispered. But I thought you should know. On the last three trips, all of the people who have slipped on the last three trips, all of the people who have slept in cabin 105 had jumped overboard. With that, with that, the steward walked away. I wasn't sure if I should take him seriously. When I was eating breakfast, the captain came down to see me. Have you seen my roommate? He asked. No, I replied. Why? He seemed to have disappeared, the captain said in a low voice. We're afraid we're afraid he might have jumped overboard. He's the fourth he's the fourth then, I exclaimed. When he realized I knew about the other three, the captain became nervous. Don't mention this to the other passengers, he said grimly. We don't want a panic on our hands. That night, when I went back to my cabin, I pulled back the curtains on the top bunk. It was empty. It gave me the creeps to think that the man who slept there was probably dead now. I got undressed and lay down on my bed to get some sleep. In the middle of the night, I was awoken by a banging noise. It was freezing cold. The porthole was wide open again, and it was banging against the wall. I got out of the bed. I got out of bed to close the porthole, but just then I distinctly heard something moving behind me in the top bunk. I turned to look, but it was too dark to see anything. Then I heard a faint groan, and the blood almost froze in my veins. Then I heard a faint groan, and the blood almost froze in my veins. Something was there. Overcoming my fear, I ran across to the top bunk, pulled up the curtains, and left around inside. To my horror, my hands felt something there, something wet and icy cold, something that smelled horribly of rotting seaweed. All of a sudden, the thing sprang at me. The thing sprang at me. It was like a clumsy mass of ooze, heavy and wet, but incredibly strong. I fell backwards in an instant. The door opened and the thing flew out. I rushed out after it, but the corridor was dimly lit and I couldn't see anything there. I was very frightened, so I went back into my cabin and turned on the lights. The top bunk the top bunk was completely drenched with seawater and the whole place stank of rotten seaweed. I was too nervous to go back to sleep, so I went up on deck to get some fresh air and clear my mind. The captain was there, and I tried to tell him about the night's events. I'd never been so scared in my life, I said. I think my cabin is haunted. Nonsense, the captain said. Just to prove it to you. Just to prove it to you, tomorrow night I'll share the cabin with you. Then we'll see what happens. I'm sure there's a rational explanation. The next night, the captain met me outside my cabin. We went in and he locked the door behind us. Now nothing can get in or out, he said. We searched the cabin to make sure it was empty. Then then the captain sat down on a chair in front of the door, and I sat on the edge of the bottom bunk. He took out a bottle of whiskey and offered me a drink. The first time it happened was a month ago, he said. The passenger who stayed the passenger who stayed in this cabin was a mental patient. He escaped from a lunatic asylum and bought a ticket to on this cruise ship. Maybe he was planning to kill himself. Who knows what goes on in the minds of these lunatics? In the middle of the night, he threw himself overboard. Just then, he stopped and stared at the porthole. I stared at it too. The bolt that held it closed seemed like it was turning ever so slowly. We both gasped. All of a sudden, the lights went out. The cruise ship rolled on the waves, and the porthole slammed open. The curtains on the top bunk swung back and forth. The captain jumped to his feet with a loud cry of surprise. In the darkness, I could see him wrestling with something. There's something in the top bunk, he screamed. I reached out and tried to help him, but my fingers closed around something ghastly, something that was horrible beyond words, something that stank of rotten seaweed and stale seawater. It was a slippery, oozing, horrible thing, the pale, bloated corpse of a drowned man. His dead white eyes stared at me from the darkness, and there was an awful grimace on its dead face. Oh, oh no! I think it. I think it's the mental patient that the captain was explaining. I think that the drowned man is must be the the mental patient that jumped overboard off the ship. Yeah, that must be the mental patient, the first guy, the first person that jumped overboard. Yeah, that must be him, the mental patient. The ghastly thing grabbed me by the neck and began to choke the life out of me. It was so strong. It was overpowering me. I was struggled to breathe. I cried out and it let me go. The thing sprang across me and threw itself on the captain and fell backwards with a cry of horror. The thing paused for an instant, crawling over him, and then it vanished through the porthole. I later the I helped the captain to his feet, and we both staggered out of the cabin. An hour later, some members of ship's crews were nailing boards over the cabin door. To this day, the captain, I mean, yeah, I helped the captain to his feet, and we both staggered out of the cabin. An hour later, some members of ship's crews were nailing boards over the cabin door. To this day, the cabin is blocked off and no passenger has ever been allowed to stay the night there again. As far as I know, cabin 105 is still haunted by that ghastly dead thing. Um, oh my. Well, that was certainly interesting. That was at least like an ending that was surprisingly good. That was surprisingly crazy. Yeah, I guess it turns out that ghastly thing, that ghastly dead thing that attacked this dude and the captain must be the mental patient. Yeah, it must be that lunatic person that first tried to kill himself and jumped overboard. Yeah, to well, I'm glad. Well, we're glad that the crew of the ship, the crew of well, yeah, we're glad that the members of the ship's crew nailed nailed the nailed the cabin door with boards so that any passenger is prohibited to so that the passenger is prohibited to ever enter the cabin. Yeah, yeah. This was really a nice story. Yeah. So yeah, so to make sure that no passenger goes to cabin 105, they they blocked off the cabin door by nailing boards to it so that they can keep it prohibited from their passengers. But all right, guys. So that was the story, cruise ship. Let me know if you guys if you go. Let me know if you guys love this story, which I know for a fact that deep down you guys always loved my scary story videos, especially yeah, the other videos I've done in the past. If you guys enjoyed it, you guys already know the drill. Subscribe, comment, and let me know what stories you guys want me to read. And and also since that tomorrow is October, let me know what Halloween stories you guys want me to read first. Well, I'm gonna be picking us first story. I'm gonna be picking a scary Halloween story for myself and you guys, so that and after that I'll let you guys pick out the story you want me to read. Just comment down below just the name of the story, and I'll be sure to check it out. But overall, this was really great story, a great scary story. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace out.